So, hi guys, welcome to another episode of Brainstorm. So, I wished that we go through the topic of intonation. It's quite easy, but it's also challenging because if you don't get the concepts right, you'll always end up getting mixed up. So, first of all, what is intonation? So, when I'm talking about intonation, we're talking about the rise and fall in pitch. So, for example, there's always a way you will ask a question, the way that you will make statements. For example, if you're asking a question, you'll ask with a raised voice. And if you're making a statement, you'll make it with a pitch that is going low. It won't be high. So you have to shout when you have to shout. You have to be calm when you have to be calm, and all these result into the way we speak, leading us to the intonation. So how exactly do we use intonation? But before we go to how we use intonation, how many types of intonation do we have? So we have four kinds of intonation. We have the rising intonation, we have the falling intonation, we have the fall rise, and we have the rise fall. So let's start by first looking at the rising intonation. So how do we use the rising intonation? Obviously, when using it, the rising intonation is when your pitch goes higher than expected. So when do your pitch as you speak goes higher? Number one, when you're encouraging others to speak on. For example, you're having a conversation with your friend and telling a story about a holiday somewhere. So whenever he's speaking, I'm telling you, I went to Mombasa, and then you'll be like, and then I saw some beautiful girls, and then you'll be like, So the act of you saying, okay, you're encouraging that person to speak on. Number two, when you're asking a question whose answer is either yes or no. For example, are you sick? Did you take breakfast? No. Are you going to the market? Yes. Will you be home soon? No. So when you're asking a question whose answer is yes or no, the intonation is rising. When you're making a request, for example, excuse me, can I go out? May I go to the toilet? Can I see you tomorrow? So you're making a request about something. Next, when you are requesting for clarification. So whenever you're requesting to want to be certain about something, it always comes mainly in the form of question tag. For example, you have a teacher gave you assignment and you're not sure whether your friend has done it or not. So you can ask your friend, you did the assignment, didn't you? So you're raising your voice at didn't you because you're not certain whether this friend did it or not. Or a teacher can come and ask you, you did the assignment, didn't you? Because the teacher is not certain whether you did. Maybe he hasn't seen your book, so he thinks you have not done it. So you're raising your voice because you want to make clarification. You want to be certain that they actually did it. You are not sure. That's why you're requesting for clarification. Next, when expressing feelings such as surprise, anger, shock, excitement, so you always have to raise your voice to show the intensity of whatever you're feeling at that particular point. For example, you're at sports and you're like, we've won! So you're very excited. So, or you've passed and your parents, I have passed. I did it. So you'll have to always raise your voice when talking about this. Let's look at the falling intonation. So obviously when you're using the falling intonation, it means that your pitch is now going lower. So when do your pitch goes low? When you're making or talking to someone or just making normal conversations? So number one, to indicate that a speaker has come to an end of what he was saying. So for example, whenever you're making a list about something, you'll be like, I went to the market and bought rulers, pencils, pens, and rubbers. So that last word is with the falling intonation because you're now listing the items, and now whatever you're listing has come to an end. So you'll have to use the falling intonation to show that you have come to the end of whatever you were saying. Next, to show emphasis. So when you're creating emphasis about something, you have to stress a word to bring out the meaning in that sentence. For example, If I stress in the sentence Tom loves Mary, and if I stress Tom loves Mary, it means that we're only speaking about this Tom and not any other Tom that loves Mary. What if I stress loves? Tom loves Mary. So Tom does not do any other activity apart from loving Mary. What if I stress Mary? Tom loves Mary. So it's only Mary that Tom's loving, not any other person. So that's why following intonation when creating emphasis is very important, because a sentence can have several meanings. So with that emphasis, you'll be able to understand whatever meaning is being inferred. Next, when you're saying something with finality. So for example, you're very certain of the thing that you're going to do, want to do, and then you'll be like, I'll go to Mombasa next week. That is certain. You're sure of what you're saying because it's final. Or I will buy myself a new Lamborghini. So it's final. You've made up your mind you want to do it and nothing can stop you. Next, on making a statement. A statement is just normal sentences. I am sick. Tomorrow is Monday. The principal will see me tomorrow. So they're just simple sentences. So making statements, they're following intonation. Showing command. So whenever you make a command about something, it means that you have authority. So a person who has authority doesn't have to shout to make meaning out of something. You just have to state it and it will be done. So for example, get out. You don't have to shout while saying get out. If you're making a command, you say it in a following intonation because it's kind of with finality and certainty to such some extent. That's why you have to be very bold when you're making the commands. So when you're making command, you use the following intonation. Get out. Something like that. Stand up. Sit down. Okay. So we also use the following intonation when dealing with alternative questions. For example, do you want to go to the market or to the mall? So it's a question, two in one. So you have a place you can choose to want to go to. So you have that alternative or the privilege of choosing whatever you want to do. Do you take history or geography? So you'll not use a wording intonation, it will be following because you have two choices and you'll have to choose from one. So when you're making alternatives, so that question has to be in a following intonation. Next, tag questions. How do you use following intonation in tag question? So for if you have a tag question and then you're using it in a following intonation, remember in the rising intonation, we mentioned of it being rising because you're not certain and you're not sure if this person has done this thing or not. But now when you're using following intonation with this tag, it means that you're sure. So if I'm a teacher and I gave you work and I know that you're good students and you did that work, so I'll ask you, you did the assignment, didn't you? So that didn't you is in following intonation because I am sure. You were not punished. Were you? So I am certain that you are not punished. I know that you're very good. I know that you're not bad students and you'll always do right by schools rules and regulations. So if you're using a following intonation in the tag, it means that you're certain of what is being said and you're not trying to seek for any kind of clarity. Next, the fall rise. So fall rise, how do we use it? When do we use? So when using a fall rise, it means that the first part of a sentence is in the falling, and then when it ends is in rising. Sorry. So like we had said earlier, when you use the rising intonation in the tags, it means that you are requesting for clarity. So most often when you're using the fall rise intonation, it means that you are uncertain of what is said and it's mainly used with the tags while seeking for clarity. For example, if you have not eaten, I'm not sure whether you have eaten or not, and I want to ask you, and I'll be like, you have eaten, haven't you? So I'm not certain whether you've eaten or not. That's why I'm raising my voice. So we raise voices when we are not certain and we want a clear information on something. So you are not sure. So that's the only way we use the fall rise. How about rise fall? So this one can be used in various sentence structures. For example, obviously with the questions that offer choices, like the alternative questions. So for example, do you want water or juice? Would you like tea or coffee? So there are alternatives. So once you understand how the falling intonation and rising intonations work, it will be easier to understand how the fall, rise, and rise, fall works, because they're just applications. Because they're just applications of the same. Sorry about the lighting. And finally, the fall, rise, fall can also be used when making a list of things, just like in the falling intonation. So the last one was having a falling intonation when you're listing items. So the same way applies with the rise, falls. For example, I went to the market and bought oranges, pineapples, apples, and bananas. So when you start listing things, your voice is in rise, and when you reach to the last part, it falls because you're done. See you next time.